G'day, how you going? It's Richard from Offroad Touring Life. Now today I'm going to do something a little bit different with my videos. Talking about the pros and cons of my own personal experience and opinions of sleeping on a camp stretcher with your swag. Now I've had swags for just over 30 years now, well about 32 years. The last 18 months or so I've been using this Darchi stretcher, which I got for a Father's Day present from my family. So it's been super awesome. There is some negatives with it using a stretcher as well, which I'll talk you through. So what I'll do now, I'll just quickly set that up and I'll talk you through my experience with it. So I've got the stretcher all set up there. Now if you do hear a couple of bangs, I think there's someone shooting deer just out of the forest just where I am. I'm just off the side of the road at the moment, not actually camping tonight, just come out here to do this review. So the swag I'm actually using is the Darchi XL 100. So it's 1 meter wide, and on this swag here, as most of you would know, I use a crash pad swag. Crash pad do stretchers as well, but with this particular stretcher, my crash pad swag fits on it perfectly, sits over the top. Now a few things to look for with a stretcher. If you do look at buying a cheaper one, what I found when I was in the market looking for one of these, there's nothing wrong with cheaper ones, but I did find that they weren't as stable, and when you sat on them or light on them and you moved around a little bit, you could actually hear them squeaking or rocking from side to side. Now just remember that this is all my personal experience here. I've got no association with Darchi at all either. So yeah, you could feel it moving around, and you know, if you're asleep at night, last thing you want to do is the stretcher squeaking, moaning and groaning. Now with this particular one, a couple of things I like with the design, I'm going to have footage running over the top so you know what I'm talking about. Under the actual one end, when you put the pole on, it has small bits of elastic, so you can actually pull the stretcher forward to clip those bars in, and it retracts nice and tight. So that just stops the mattress from sagging so much and just makes the whole setup of the stretcher so much easier as well. The canvas material on top, I haven't had any problems with that at all. I've actually found it to be quite good, nice and sturdy. It hasn't lost any of its actual tautness, or I guess if that's a word, of the actual material as well. So that's been able to keep that nice and like new, I guess. It's nice and level, nice and wide, good footprint, and it does have 6 legs on this particular stretcher as well, which I'm sure most of them do as well. So with the pros and cons of having a camp stretcher, I'll start with the cons first. Now, I have a family of 4. If we were to have 4 of these in the car, they're around 10 kilos each. So obviously extra 40 kilos of weight that I'll be carrying around in the patrol. And the other big thing as well is room for storage. So I'll drop some footage over here now. You can see how big they are. So having the patrol, even though I've got the roof rack, that would be an extra 40 kilos of weight on the top, or I'd have to find somewhere else in low in the car. So behind the seats would be obviously no good. So when I do use the stretcher, it's predominantly when I'm by myself camping, or just myself and one of my kids, or probably the biggest negative. And the other thing would be the extra additional cost of buying the stretchers as well, obviously as well. So I can't remember exactly how much this one was, but I did get it like when there was a show special on anyway, so I saved a few bucks there. A few other negatives would be I guess if it got a bit wet, you got to dry them out when you get home and all that sort of general stuff that does come with camping. And if we are using the awnings to fit 4 stretchers underneath, would be near on impossible. We can get the swags in there under there okay, but you just get it nice and close. Because they are such a solid sort of object, you will be working your way around them just to move around under that as well if the weather wasn't favourable. So when you are looking for one, like I mentioned at the start here, just want to have a look at like the sturdiness and the ruggedness of it, and ask around. There's a lot of people now, a lot of different companies do have their swags and stuff like that suited for this. Now I went for the wider option purely just for comfort as well. A bit of dust there, so a car just went past. So one of the other reasons I went this width stretcher as well is purely because the swag fitted on it really good, and the poles actually hang just over to the sides of it as well, so the actual hoop poles aren't sitting on the bed itself, they're just hanging over the sides, which I find works really well. There's swag hoops drop off the side. That's what I meant by that. So you don't have them actually sitting in here digging into the material there. You actually have the hoops hanging off the side, which obviously protects the stretcher itself, so you're not going to, you know, potentially do any rips and tears, or even over time it'll just start wearing that material through. So hopping in and out now, you can see I'm just kneeling down here, hop in and out quite easy. So that's, you know, just a bit above knee height sort of thing, in and out, unzip it. Another big bonus as well, so for the another one for the pros, if you're sleeping and it's raining and it's pouring or whatever, or you know, water's coming through, go straight underneath. You don't even have to worry about it coming in through your swag either. So, you know, I've been camped in this in the high country a few times, and even on the Murray River where the water can just sit across the top there in the mud. I've had the awning out, but water's just made its way through out under the car and away it goes. But yeah, just something else to keep in mind for the positives. Rolling the swag up makes life super easy when it's on top of a stretcher as well. Everything is done at that knee height, so obviously you don't have to bend down, crawl along the ground or anything like that. Now if you are sleeping, like for another pro, so if you are sleeping say in rocky terrain or anything like that, I'm lucky enough with my swag I don't need to put any pegs in, which is like a lot of swags now. But if you are in rocky terrain, you're up off the ground, if you need to level the pegs, level the legs out, sorry, you can just move those, you know, clear the ground a bit more and get your swag and your bed nice and level there. So that's also another plus, even if you're sleeping in sand or whatever. And you do have that storage space underneath your stretcher as well. So sometimes if I'm away for a couple of nights and I've got a bit of a base camp set up, I'll just run a sea gear mat underneath, and I'll have my clothes bag and or shoes, etc., just sitting underneath it, and then that frees up the room out of the car there when you're moving stuff around. As you know, with the wagon you can have pretty limited space, so that is a bit of extra usable space you gain again underneath your swag, underneath your stretcher and stuff like that. So before just as I was heading off to come up here and do this, I gave everyone about a 20-minute notice of some questions to throw out to ask about stretchers they might want to know. One question I did get was from Romper, so those of you that follow Romper 6x6 on Instagram, he wanted to know how soft you got to be to start sleeping on a stretcher, with a bit of a laughing emoji. Now I've known Romper for well over 30 years, so Pete, you got to be pretty soft, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty comfy too, mate. Alright, so if you got any questions about this particular stretcher, or you know, any questions about sleeping on a stretcher while camping, if I haven't covered them in here, pop it in the comments down below. I'll be able to answer those. I do answer every question or every comment that comes through on my YouTube channel. Give us a big thumbs up, hit subscribe, and the notification bell, so you know when the videos are coming up. I should have a couple of more dropping in pretty soon, so once I get all that organised you'll see those pop up. So thanks heaps for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers. Now while I'm filming this, if you hear any loud bangs, someone just must be shooting some deer not far from where I am. So anyway, there you go, you probably heard that through the microphone. So anyway, while I've got the stretcher all set up here, now the stretcher that I've actually got is the Darchi XL 1000. So that's